Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sneha Nair and welcome again to the next series of the paper number 303, semester 5 physical chemistry, unit 3B, which is called as polymer chemistry. Now in the last lectures, last few videos that you would have seen, we have already covered the addition polymerization technique. Now moving on in this particular unit or in this particular video, we'll be starting with the another most important technique, which is called as a condensation polymerization. Now, in the previous initial stage of discussion of about an addition and a condensation polymerization, I had given you an overview about what exactly do you mean by condensation polymerization also. But if not, let's just quickly revise what we have studied so far. So talking about the condensation polymerization, it is also called as a step growth polymerization. Why step growth? Because in this particular technique, we'll be adding the monomer unit in a series of stepwise reactions. So we are stepwisely we are doing an intermolecular condensation by a series of independent reaction. A molecule will be reacting with a B molecule, and in that particular series, they will be condensing and resulting into entire polymeric chain. Now, if I talk about condensation polymerization technique in detail, you must always remember that condensation is a process when it is happening in a polymerization technique. It will always and always result into the release or the loss of simple molecules like water. Either it can be ammonia or either it can be hydrochloric acid. Now, if, for example, I just want to trick you out in understanding whether the reaction that I've mentioned to you is an addition or a condensation polymerization technique, what you need to do is you just need to understand, you just need to see whether there are any byproducts that has been released or not. If there are certain byproducts released in the entire reactions, then surely, and if the byproducts are of water, ammonia, or hydrochloric acid, then you should surely, write it straight away as condensation polymerization technique. Now, the simplest way of understanding the condensation step growth polymerization reaction is, now for simplicity purpose, what I've done here is I have taken two monomer units. In this case, I've taken a monomer unit A and I'm reacting it with a monomer B. Now what happens is generally when they will condense, they will form a bond with one another. So when they're forming a bond, obviously this will be what? A bond B, that is AB is formed. Now this AB is further reacted with A and it will result in the formation of ABA. So what happens is it is stepwise in reacting and thus the chain will go on. So see, you can see here A is reacting with B and it is condensating and forming A bond B. This A bond B is again reacting with A bond B again and then AB, AB, AB and so on n number of times the polymeric chains are formed. So the step growth polymerization results in not a singular, simpler one reaction. It will have a stepwise reactions following. Means a monomer is being added at every stage. We are adding one monomer at every stage of the reaction. That is called as a condensation polymerization reaction. Now the polymers that are generally formed by the step growth polymerizations are called as obviously step growth polymers, and there is no doubt about it. And obviously the condensation polymers generally that you would have seen in the market are Dacron, nylon and bakelite, the one you use for the trays and plates वगैरह, wherein even if you break it, they won't break and your mom will not scold you for not breaking that plates again. So the simplest example of a condensation polymerization technique is, see, what I've done here is I've taken ethylene glycol, which you can consider as a monomer A. This can be considered as a monomer B for now example point of view. See, ethylene glycol is nothing but CH2OH, CH2OH. Now this is reacting with n numbers of terephthalic acid, which is COOH, carboxylic group on both the sides. Now what is the basic chemistry that is taking place here is I will be removing this hydrogen and we will be removing what this entire thing will be removing it. And obviously from here again we will remove what? This stuff. So what generally is occurring is when see this indicates what, that the bond obviously there will be again an ethylene glycol group here. Okay, what happens is there is again an ethylene glycol group here. There is again terephthalic terephthalic acid here. So what generally happens, the chains are extending on both the sides of the groups. I've just taken a chunk of it to explain you. What generally happens is ethylene glycol will release one of its hydrogen. On the contrary, terephthalic acid again will release one of its hydrogen. So what generally happens is the middle part is releasing what? H2O, which is nothing but a water. Like I said, anything which will resulting into any byproduct, obviously, which is removal of water, ammonia or the hydrochloric acid will be called as what? The condensation polymerization. So in this particular case, because there was no scope of removal of HCl, you can see there is no chlorine group attached here. Obviously, there is no scope of removing ammonia because there is no nitrogen group attached here. So the group that is possible here for the removal is water, which is H2O. So the general formation reaction is what? We have just copied it again, CO, CH2, CH2, then COO of this, then the benzene ring and COO, and then whole N means, and this dashes on both the ends indicate that this are having bonds on both the sides, means the terephthalic group on one end and the ethylene group glycol group on the other end are joining with one another and resulting into the bond. So the molecule that has been formed here in this particular reaction is called as the terylene or dacron that you commonly used in the clothing purposes, into the dupattas and everything. So this is the general example of the condensation polymerization or the step growth polymerization technique, which is the another way of mode of polymerization. So by this, we have already completed the two modes of polymerization, which is the addition and the condensation polymer. And in the coming video, we'll be starting with the polymer additive. So till that time, stay safe, keep on revising, and then we'll meet up in the next lecture. Thank you for watching this video.